Welcome to Culture Clash Parenting, the podcast where laughter meets learning on the wild ride of raising kids in foreign lands. And join us as we navigate the intricacies of parenting in a world that's anything but familiar. Get ready for a dose of empathy, a dash of humor, and a whole lot of love. Let's dive into this beautiful mess of raising kids in a different culture together.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 10. Can you believe we're already doing episode 10? Yay. We're doing another translation one. Lost and found in translation, expressions that differ across English, French, and German. Have you ever translated something word for word, ended up with total nonsense? Or heard an expression that was in another language and it made you stop and go, why? Why would they ever say it like that?
We've all been there. Language isn't just about words, it's about culture and history. And sometimes it shows the really weird way that other people look at the world. So today we're diving into some of our favorite expressions in English, French, and German. We're going to talk about phrases that mean the same thing, but are built completely differently, so end up sounding silly when you translate them directly.
From raining cats and dogs to selling bear skins before you kill them, we'll explore what these phrases say about our cultures and how they sometimes lead to quite hilarious misunderstandings. So grab a coffee, we will clear the cats or frogs in our throats, and let's get into it.
I'm really excited about this episode, Astrid, because it includes our two big kids. And we've been talking for a while about getting them on, and we thought, what better episode to force them to sit down with us and chat than talking about expressions, because as we discovered, some of us use expressions that maybe aren't cool anymore in they're too 1990 and not like 2020 enough. So
yeah, you're going to hear that a lot.
So expressions aren't just language quirks. They reflect how people from different cultures see life, work, luck, and even bad weather. What we've discovered is that the French have an obsession with food and body parts. The Germans seem to love structure and sausage. And the English really have a sense of humor and, frankly, seem to really like body parts as well. So the sayings that we're going to share today really do offer a peek into some of the cultural clashes that come up when we're talking to one another. What might be Greek to you in English, Spanish to the Germans, and Chinese to the French, turns out it's higher level math to our children, or 1990s math, apparently, to our children. So let's check in with the kids and then see how that goes. So we were just saying there's a bunch about body parts, like buttholes and balls, and
Pretty much.
So you had a good one that I hadn't heard before.
I mean, I think I have a friend who uses it. It's il y a une couille dans le pâté, which just means there's a testicle in the pâté, which means something's wrong.
And then you had one, Astrid.
Oh, just now, was it
Tu me casses les couilles.
tu me casses les couilles, tu me sors pas les yeux.
Yeah.
Tu me casses les pieds.
Yeah. The preferred version is tu me casses le pied. You're breaking my feet, right?
I don't use that one. I use the dirty one usually.
Yes.
You use the other one?
Yes.
Quite possibly, because it's hard for me to have anybody break mine. So.
Oh, it'll throw up for you.
No, yours is already broken. And then there was another one that Zach said he knew that was, oh no, Zach said he didn't know, but I had read it somewhere. That was péter plus haut que ton cul.
Yeah, you got that one.
So like to fart higher than your butt. And it means like to basically be like to think highly of yourself, to be like pretentious.
Interesting. That one I have never heard.
I've not heard that one either.
Um,
Can you think of one in German that's just really odd?
Not one that's odd. I mean, other than das ist mir Wurst, like no, there's like that's
Yeah.
just normal kind of like.
Yeah, everything is sausage in German. Everything is
Yeah.
sausage related.
Other than that, there's really no.
Like,
We leave all the ones that involve body parts to the French.
that's
Better at
there's
that.
some cultural background to that.
yes, that's the cultural difference.
Yeah, the French are better at that than we are.
Are there French ones that have to do with sausages?
No.
Like anything about saucisse? No, I can't think of anything. So yeah, so apparently the French leave all the sausage ones to the Germans.
Yeah, there's also the alles hat ein Ende, nur die Wurst hat zwei. Like everything has an end, just the sausage has two. Like if a party comes to an end and you're like, oh, I'm bummed, I have to go. It's because everything has an end, but the sausage has two.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say, so I'm not leaving the party and we're just gonna like boot and rally.
There you go.
I don't know. There aren't that many. I mean, there's a lot about cows, especially when you make fun of people. A lot of insults involving cows.
But you call somebody a cow.
Exactly. There are
Like
many
a
different
stupid cow.
there are many different
Like-
variations of calling people some type of cow.
Yeah, but you can also use
Or
goat
pig. And
alternatively.
pig.
Yeah.
And in French, like another way of saying raining cats and dogs is il pleut comme une vache qui pisse.
I've
So
never
there's
heard
lots of like
That's
cow.
it.
Owen was like, I've never heard that one.
Oh, no, I've heard that one.
Zachary was like, he's like, that's what adults say. It's like no one under the age of 50 says that. And I was like, I'm under the age of 50. Yeah, Zach was not in a good mood today.
I mean, I've heard my friends say like il peut des chats et des chats sometimes. It's really
Cats and dogs.
not a cow.
And don't they say like il pleut, isn't there one about like ropes?
Yeah, il pleut des cordes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The German equivalent is es regnet Bindfäden. Like it rains not ropes, but it rains threads.
I've never heard that.
Oh yeah, so I think with Bindfäden. Because but ropes and threads, like strings, it kind of makes sense, right? Cats and dogs, never seen anything look like that coming out of the sky.
What would you say? What would you say in German, like when you were there and it was raining really hard?
Scheißwetter.
Ja, also es gibt scheiß Wetter. Oh Mann, Donnerwetter draußen. It's like it's just really bad and it's just gross outside like that. Other than that, like it's giving thunder weather or whatever.
Yeah, Scheißwetter. Like, that's a big one, I think.
What would you say if it was raining really bad and you had to ride your bike to school?
I mean, in French or English,
Yeah, in French.
something vulgar about how I don't like rain.
Like what?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I just asked the
Same thing.
No, because I love rain, so like I wouldn't say anything bad about it because it means I can stay home and like drink hot chocolate.
Yeah, no, but when I have to bike to school with training, then
Oh, yeah, well I just put a hood on. Problem solved.
What would you
I'd
say?
be like, la pluie casse les couilles or something like very annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very-
it breaks your balls.
Yes,
Ball breaking.
it is.
I'd walk to school in the rain. Like it's not bad. Like I don't mind it. I like the rain.
Yeah. Depends on how hard it's raining too, I think.
I
Yeah.
was gonna walk home yesterday in the rain, and then my mom called me, and I was like, "Okay, no, I'm too tired for this. I'll just have her come pick me up."
Wouldn't the American version of ball breaking, isn't that ball busting?
Yeah, ball busting or yeah. I feel like that's on Seinfeld. They used to say that all the time, right? You're busting my balls.
Pain in the ass, man.
Or pain
Yeah.
in the another one. There's a lot of talk about balls and acids in English idioms as well.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the pain.
yeah, there is.
Other ones we were looking at not body part related. There's a lot in French, just speaking about water. There's a lot about water. So there's like
The
c'est
drop
pas
of
boire,
Oh yeah.
like it like
Panama.
right, like it's not the ocean to drink, like it's not that big a deal.
Yep.
What else?
The drop that brings the vase to overflow. La goutte qui fait la vase déborder.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like the last straw.
The last straw, right? The straw that broke the camel's back in English. Yeah. What is it in German? The straw that broke the camel's back.
I don't use that many expressions. I just say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
I'm not the person to ask if you guys wanted to record this episode. Like I don't use that many expressions.
But you just lived there for years.
Yeah.
There might be new ones that I didn't know. You know, maybe I use the over 50 expressions at this point. Quite possibly.
It's interesting that you say that because I think like you kind of said the same thing and Zach said the same thing in the car. Like he's like, I don't know what expressions I use. Like I just talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder like how, I mean, obviously you and I, Astrid, like kind of did research for this episode. Like we looked it up and we thought about it. And I think, I'm not sure I would have even known it was an expression at that age. I just said it because everyone said it.
Mm.
And then I like in reflection, it's like, oh yeah, like busting balls. Like we said that all the time. I wouldn't have thought of that as an expression when I was a kid. It was just what we said right? But it was an idiom, it was a phrase, it was like slang, whatever, but I'm not sure I knew what an expression was.
I think what I say honestly the most at this point, because I have a little sister who always says she wants stuff, is Kinder, die was wollen, kriegen was auf die Bollen. I say that all the time now because Cora, and I want to teach her how to say I would like or ich möchte instead of I want, and it's not working well.
How would you translate Kinder, die was wollen, kriegen was auf die Bollen?
Kids that like, I guess kids that demand or want something like without being
Kids that
polite. What does it get spanked or something?
Yeah,
Basically.
Bollen would then be like basically the thighs, and like they get something on there. So it rhymes.
I wonder, is there an English equivalent to that? Like,
Yeah, it's called shut up, you're not getting what you want.
You get what you get and you don't throw a fit, I think.
Oh, she's been saying that all the time.
yeah, you get
That's
what you
that from school.
yeah, you get what you get.
And you don't throw a fit.
It's annoying. Forgot about that saying. I was like, oh man, it was so nice when I didn't have to remember that. Now Cora says it all the time.
Yeah. Are there other ones that you hear your friends say regularly? Or English ones that you hear us say regularly? I think what we say in the house a lot.
Tu vas à la chasse, tu perds ta place. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when my brother leaves his spot down by the couch and I take it and then he gets mad at me. I'm like, tu vas à la chasse, tu perds ta place.
Aufgestanden, Platz vergangen.
Yeah,
is
that
the
one
German
too.
one.
I said that.
Got up, place gone.
Yeah.
We used to say, yeah, I think for us it was like, I was gonna say,
You go on your chase, you lose your place.
yeah.
No, but that's how I translated it.
What's the English one?
Use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it, right?
I always just
I wouldn't say that about a place on the couch. It would be more like, yeah, like if my brother had something that I wanted, like I don't know if he was like using something and then he left and I took it, but yeah.
I think that's
Toe pee.
Yeah, I think that's what my brother and I like carrying things around that we wanted to keep using so the other wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
Usually the TV remote.
Tant pis is a big one in France.
Bumpy is a big one.
Yeah. So what would you be? You'd say too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh well.
that's to be.
That's for you.
Just like, oh well, kind of.
Yeah, but it's like too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's used as too bad, so sad.
Yeah.
Schade aber auch, I think is what we used to say back when I was younger, like, ja, schau, schade aber auch.
Mm.
It's a dommage. Like, I
We
don't
used
know.
to think about this a lot, but when I came to France as a high schooler, I was in Toulouse and they used vachement all the time instead of très, or now they say gavé, right? And when we moved back here and I was like, I used vachement because I thought I was like cool. And like this old guy laughed at me and he was like, "Oh, that's so 90s." It's like, "Oh, sorry." I thought I was being cool because I was like, "Oh, say vachement cool." And he was like, "That's like very 90s."
Yeah, there wasn't that much Verlan in the 90s.
um,
We weren't that cool back
you're like,
Yeah.
you're like, nobody says vachement, mom.
Love it.
Did you hear her, Marissa?
She said that you guys weren't so cool in the 90s. I was like, we know, we've seen pictures.
Exactly. Oh my God.
I'm gonna
I
be
was back
suffering.
there just nodding.
I'm gonna be suffering so much karma later in life for all of this, and to be honest, I don't care because this is funny.
It's hilarious.
I know.
I feel like it's our karma too, because I used to tell my mom all the time to speak in her normal voice when she would speak to me in Portuguese. And then when I would speak to the kids and then especially if I spoke to them in French, like Owen would be like, "No, like you need to speak English now." Like once he figured out that mom was like the English voice, he was like, "You are not allowed to speak to me in any other language."
Oh, didn't I? I think I was with my grandmother when I was like 4 or something. She tried saying like a sentence in, was it German? And I told her, no, I speak German, you speak English.
She said, no, no,
Yours, mom?
you don't speak German. I speak German because she looked out the window and said, oh, ein lila Baum, because the tree was
Blooming like purple
blooming
leaves.
lilac, yeah. And Franziska said, she was 2. No, you don't speak German. I speak German.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's not okay.
But that's how they keep it apart.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I used to talk about this all the time, the one face, one voice. And I think, I mean, it makes sense a lot when your brain works that way. And then obviously, like what you're doing with Cora, like you can speak multiple languages. And if they hear the same voice multiple times, like in different languages, it's normal. My mom really compartmentalized them and rarely spoke to us in Portuguese. So then when she did, it was like,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be speaking that language.
Like you in French, I mean, hearing it. Yeah. Or one time I was speaking to myself in English, and then my friend asked me a question, and I answered him in English. But yeah.
I've answered my friends in German a lot since I've been back, and like not meaning to, and
Right.
it's less now, but especially when I first came back, if I was just thinking about something and they asked me a question and I would respond with a German word or two, they would look at me and go, "You're in the wrong place."
Like, what is
Be like,
wrong?
"Okay, my bad."
I've done that many times. And I remember when I was, before I had her, so years ago, 17 years ago, I was
Almost 18. Haha, I was
I
like,
was
no.
at work and I went into my coworker's office and to ask her if she wanted to go out for lunch. So I walked in there and I'm like, Mittagessen. And she just looked at me and she says, am I tired or are you tired?
I'm guessing it was both of you.
No, it was definitely me because she knew I was not speaking English.
I knew this, like I've noticed because there's a lot more incorporation of English phrases into French daily, like speak with one another, but they have the French accent that I really struggle. Like I'm getting tired again. Like when we first moved here, and my brain was like, I can't. What language am I speaking, and where am I? And at the end of the day, I was just done. It's like that again because all of a sudden there's like this franglais that I have to translate. It's like, did they just say, like, what was the one the other day? They were saying, oh, they did a free hug event. And so they were like, they free hug. And I was like, I literally was like, what are they? Right. It was like my brain was like, I know what they're saying, but I don't know what they're saying. And I have to pause,
Yeah.
figure it out in context. And then they like showed me the sign and I was like, oh, okay.
No, I was on the bus yesterday on the way back to school after the tournament, and I was listening with my headphones to a band called Wise Guys, who they're like a German a cappella band that I actually kind of like. Don't tell my mom. Just I'm saying, but
La, la, la.
I was listening to them, and then my coach starts talking, so I take my headphones off, and then I needed like a solid 45 seconds to realize what language he was speaking, because it was like I could understand what he's saying, but not what he was saying, and it just messed me up for a minute. I was like, well, hang on, what?
Yeah,
Where am I now?
totally. You must have that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you notice it in like in school more now that you're in school speaking English more often?
I mean, at the beginning of the year, there was or maybe this was last year, but I told you about this at some point. Since there's a kid in my class who has a pretty good accent because he's Japanese, and he spoke English, and I couldn't figure out what language he was speaking because he wasn't speaking with a French accent, but it was like more an American accent, but I just couldn't figure out what language it was. And yeah,
Yeah, your brain just kind of explodes.
it was English.
Like, what is going on?
It was English.
Yeah. Yeah,
Third culture kid problems.
right. Whole another episode. All right, should we let them go? Because they've been very, very patient with us.
Patient.
Or do you have more?
Anything else you guys want to say?
Not really.
I opened the Greek yogurt that's in the fridge.
Super helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome.
How would you say, because here's an expression, like,
Especially for me.
yeah, well, for both of you, but I'm looking at you in the screen.
Oh yeah.
Like it, right? We would say like, oh, see you later, alligator. How would you say would be like an equivalent expression in German for Francie and
Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal.
can you say that again?
Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal, I guess. I don't know. That's the one I heard at the end of every Bibi Blocksberg CD. So
I'm not sure it's used all the time though. Okay.
not even close, but it's something that I heard after every CD, and it was really funny.
Tschö mit Ö. That would be more
Mhm.
like, because tschüss is the real one, but when most people say it, it's more like tschö. And then so sometimes people would say tschö mit Ö, but that's probably also
I mean,
more 90s. I don't know.
I don't know. There's
I
not
don't know
like
if
an
it's still
actual.
used.
There's not like a big expression for it. It's just like, oh, choose.
Ciao is do we also say a lot. We don't have the a plus, anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't as an adult say see you later, alligator to anyone. Right?
True.
Like, I feel like
You
maybe.
would if you were talking to a 5-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. If I was talking to a 5-year-old. So 5-year-old version of yourself, Francie would have said in German.
Uh, honestly, bye bye. Probably. I don't remember totally what I would have said, but I'm guessing it was probably closer to bye bye.
How about you? Is there like a French expression that you have heard your friends say to like a 5-year-old French kid?
Off the top of my head, I cannot think of any equivalent.
Yeah,
I just say bye. See you tomorrow or something.
yeah. There's definitely a plus, there's a bientôt, there's a tout à l'heure, there's
But with like social media and everything, and English being one of the biggest, like, or most commonly spoken languages on the planet, it's the crossing of the language into others is just so common. We have Danglish and Franglish all the time. Like the amount of times I heard people in my class last year in Germany saying certain stuff in English just because everyone said it was more common. It was a lot more than I had expected.
yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of what the fucks from French people, and I'm like,
Hmm.
that's not really something you would say in a classroom setting.
Yeah.
Like, but they
Germany, we heard it a lot.
yeah,
That's true.
but it's
The
because
only people we
it's
had to watch at home was Deussen and Brandmann.
Yes.
yeah. We might have to get a
Throw
on
around.
this. This episode got a little explicit. We might have to label it
Warning.
explicit.
The F word does get thrown around in Germany. I feel like more than here,
It
almost.
gets thrown around a lot here for
I
sure.
heard Russian kick a lot last year.
Yeah. You don't remember that story, Owen?
Oh
When
yeah,
when Owen was first learning how to read, we were walking down the street in Bordeaux, where there was like a bunch of stores, and they had in this like window of the store, it said fucking sold. Like they fucking sold, like fucking sales. And like Owen was like, he's like, learning how to spell out word, like how to sound out words. He's like, and then he got what the word was, and he was like, why does it say fuck there, mom? I was like, I don't know. And we marched into the store, and I was like, that word doesn't mean what you think it means. And they were like, oh, it's just like fucking. But then we realized it's like, because they don't censor, right? So they like heard all this music that had the F-bomb and all this stuff, and they just thought it was a normal word. And I was like, no, like you don't. And then we went out with some friends a couple of months later, and the restaurant had fucking cheesecake on the menu. We were like, it's like, again,
I want to go to that restaurant. It better be fucking good.
it was pretty fucking good cheesecake. I will, but it didn't even say like fucking good cheesecake. It was fucking cheesecake. It was like,
That's not going to stop me from wanting to go try it.
no. But this was like back in the day too, and
back in the day.
back in the day.
I fear, Owen, you're gonna have to bleep out a lot of these.
Yeah.
Or don't make it fun.
Yeah.
Just put a little warning on the label.
You can do a PR version and an R version.
You mean a
Right.
PG?
It's
Sorry.
language.
Yeah.
Keep your children away.
I forgot.
Oh, here's one that English has no translation for.
This is like the thing I say the most, especially here, because I don't know how. There's no way to say it in English. Ich hab keinen Bock mehr.
Je n'ai plus envie.
Like
There's no English translation.
Yeah.
I guess the closest would be I don't want to anymore, but like even
I'm
that.
like I'm done with this shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like every time, especially last year, I was like, ich hab keinen Bock mehr. I don't want to do this. I want to go home. Like,
Yeah.
But Lust haben, irgendwas zu tun.
like if you
D'avoir envie de faire quelque chose.
Like,
You don't have that in English.
Yeah.
You have it in German, you have it in French, but in English it's like you feel like doing it,
or you don't.
or you don't feel like doing it, but it's not.
But it's like
There's not one word, right? One noun to be able to have to do it.
Well, kind of like courage in French, right? Like there's no English equivalent to courage
when good luck.
Yeah, but it's not bon chance, right? It's like, oh, like you're sick. I'm so sorry. Like courage, like courage. But you wouldn't say like have courage to somebody who was like sick or who was like about to go do like take an exam and they were stressed and they didn't want to do it, right? Like, and in French it's just so easy. You're like, oh, courage, like it's like encouragement.
Yeah, it's encouragement.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have to say I encourage you because
or like
you can say bon chance, because you could say bon chance, right? Like für Glück, good luck, but that you can't really. That's almost like buying a lottery ticket. Like you can't influence the outcome. Whereas bon courage, you can actually. You studied bon courage. You can influence this outcome of the test.
Yeah, but it also in the like because the flu and everything is going around now, like I feel like I'm saying it a lot because there's lots of people who are like, oh, I can't get out of bed, and I'm like, oh, courage, like you'll make it through, right? It's like it's like just keep going, like you got this, like. But there's just no, like you said, there's no expression in English that's just like.
Yeah, I don't see a translation.
Like hang it, other than hang in there, but it's not one word.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in you. You got this.
Yeah.
Which I say to my friends all the time before tests.
Yeah, but you don't say it when they're sick.
Yeah.
It's like, feel better.
Yeah. Or
It's the
like,
best song with the French, the German one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good betterment. I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds like the languages.
I think basically what our podcast started out as too was that if you have multiple languages to work from, you just have more ways to express yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And do you find that like Because one of the things we were talking about that, like when you have more ways to express yourself, like what I'm hearing you say, Francie, is like an O and two is like sometimes like it comes in German faster or it comes in French faster because like the thing you want to say doesn't exist in the other language.
Yep.
So
Both
not
of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
but how you want to express yourself makes more sense in the other language. There's no equivalent in the language that you're speaking in the moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Does that happen to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an example?
Nope.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
Hope you come back for future episodes
Yes.
to entertain us.
On the school difference. So pick a Sunday, any Sunday.
Pretty good.
So now that our kids told us that our expressions are really just reflecting our age, most expressions actually reflect cultural mindsets. So, for instance, we've talked before about the selling the skin of the bear before you kill him. That is basically don't count your chickens before they hatch. In German, we don't praise the day before the evening. So, man soll den Tag nicht vor dem Abend loben. Ne vends pas la peau de l'ours avant de l'avoir tué. It's very much don't count the chickens before they hatch. But yeah, it's animals in English, it's animal in French, and Germans being super practical. Just don't praise the day before the evening has arrived.
And this is so funny, Astrid, because as you're saying it, I'm thinking about my grandmother, who's my on my dad's side, who was from a German family, and her parents immigrated from Germany to the US. And she used to use that expression all the time. And she would say it in, I guess I thought it was in Yiddish, but she must have said it in German. And then it was so long ago, but then she would often say in English too, like, something really similar. Like, I think she was trying to translate it. And then the other thing she would say in that same way was like, when something good happened, she was like, don't smile too hard because the frown is around the corner, which I feel like is probably like her taking it a step further. She was not the happiest person.
But that might be a Jewish thing to like wait for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that saying.
An expression that I don't know. Or maybe it was something that came out of being born in the Depression. But then the other one, like we talked about the frogs and the cats in your throat. So yeah, and like in English, right? Like got to clear the frog in your throat. And I always thought it was really funny that it was to have a cat in your throat, avoir un chien, avoir un chat dans la gorge in French. And then often when you and I talk, I'm like, okay, so are Germans more like French or are they more like English? Because so much American and English language comes from German. But in this case,
we got frogs in the throat.
Yep.
In
this case, the American phrase probably comes from the German.
Yeah. I think the English language borrowed a lot from both German and French, or actually based off of Latin. English and German kind of went one way, and then French and the rest of the Romance languages went the other way.
Yeah, because we were talking
more. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, we were talking with the kids about It's Raining Cats and Dogs. And I shared that they also say in French, like, il pleut comme une vache qui pisse, like it's raining like a pissing cow. And I Googled it, and it's actually an expression in English as well. They actually say it's raining like a pissing cow. It's raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock, which is like the rain's coming back up in your face. And when I looked into it, because I was like, that's weird. Yeah, sure enough, it's from like the South, so it's probably coming from those French immigrants who went into like Louisiana, and so it's coming from that patois, that Creole. That's my guess. So yeah, I think it really does it within the English. What's fascinating to me is like it helps you kind of understand like, oh, is this an expression we stole from the Germans or that we stole from the French? Like, who did we take this expression from?
Interesting that it's coming from the South. I hadn't thought of that when I first heard you mention that.
It
Super
was
cool.
the video of who I saw saying it was clearly somebody that had a Southern accent when they were speaking English. That could also be me just extrapolating. But yeah, it's I think that one of the, you know, growing up with a parent who spoke lots of different languages, it was always something that would sort of stop me. Like when my mom would, I'm trying to think of an example, but there were, with me, it's more about like words that she would use, less than phrases, but I think it's probably just in my head. Like she used to say genug is genug. We used to talk about this, like, and she would say genug is genug, not genug ist genug. She would like kind of put it into that, or maybe she said ist and I just heard is, but yeah,
Enough is enough.
yeah, enough is enough,
Or
right?
somebody's asking. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. You get what you get.
Definitely.
So, but yeah, it's like I think it is kind of, and because I grew up in a house where like there were Yiddish phrases, there were German phrases, there were Portuguese phrases, there was French. It was like so many different things, and it never occurred to me to really think about, like, as a child hearing it, like what was the cultural connection to this. And so it's been really interesting to have this conversation.
I think half the time I never even thought about which language it was because I did the same thing. I grew up with my dad working for an American company and my mom speaking some French around the house too. It was very much and then as having lived in Switzerland, phrases were just used and you just repeated them. But in terms of raining, I just thought of some other German ways to express it because there are several actually, and I just usually say es regnet Bindfäden, like what we talked about with the kids. But there's also es strömt, like and Strom is like a river kind of. There's es regnet aus Kübeln, like it's raining out of buckets, which it's raining buckets, I think we say in English too. And then my personal favorite is es ist ein Wetter, im Bett zu bleiben. Like it's a weather to stay in bed. That's actually my personal favorite.
So
But nowhere is there an animal except for if you're just calling the weather as Sauwetter, which we do a lot too. It's a Sauwetter. It's a pig weather, right? then I guess, but still, does the pig really have to pee? Just it's just pig weather, right?
right. Does a
But
cow
then,
have pee?
yeah,
Ready to have that image in my head. Do cats and dogs have to be falling from the ceiling?
yeah, I can run through the rain, but really,
Yeah. Well, and the animal one is so funny because again, like when we were going through like kind of Googling what were some expressions that maybe we didn't know, the other animal one that came up, which when I had asked Owen, he did say that he had heard before was poser une lapin à quelqu'un, like to leave a rabbit with someone, which basically means like to stand someone up. And so there's like that magician, right? Like, oh, I pulled a rabbit out of the hat instead of like me showing up. I left them the rabbit.
that's
And
funny
then
because we say to stand someone up. Because in German we say jemanden sitzen lassen, like to leave someone sitting. We're standing him up. We're leaving him sitting. Like at least in German, they're comfortable. We're practical.
either way, they've got a rabbit with them, so they're okay. They have someone to talk to. Yeah. And then you brought up this one in French, which I hadn't. We don't speak a lot of French in our house, so I I don't have as many French expressions as you do, but I love this one. Now that you've said it, I'm going to use it all the time. Les chiens ne font pas des chats, which is literally dogs don't make cats, which makes total sense when you get the English translation of the apple doesn't fall from the tree, right? Like the kids are going to resemble the parents.
Right.
And
And
then,
that's a common one too.
yeah,
Der Apfel fällt nicht weit vom Baum, oder der Apfel fällt nicht weit vom Birnbaum, which is very more similar, I guess, to dogs don't make cats. Like the apple doesn't fall far from the pear tree. I don't know why it has to be so different, but it's to really, really put it in contrast with something else.
yeah, which I like that though, because it's like, well, the apple might fall far from the pear tree, right? Like, so to know that you're talking about like the apple doesn't fall far from the apple tree, but it does fall far from the pear tree. What's great about these conversations is so many more things pop up. So I'm always curious, like for those of you who are listening, like what pops up as you're hearing this, and are there expressions that maybe like this is making you think of that you don't use very often, or you use very often, but you don't realize that it's an expression because you've used it so much, it's just become part of your vernacular. Because no conversation between the two of us would be complete without talking about food. We have to have some expressions related to food. So,
yes, there's definitely life struggle that need to be expressed in food.
yes. So in English, that's the way the cookie crumbles was the one we came up with, which in French they say like c'est la fin des haricots, like it's the end of the beans, like things are hopeless. Like it's kind of like
I'm trying to think of the German.
End of it, just move on. Like it doesn't even necessarily mean things are hopeless. Like I've heard it in that sort of context of like enough's enough, in the context of that's the way a cookie crumbles, like it's done, we can't go back in time, like say la fin des haricots. And then we talked about this with when the kiddos were here, but in German, you like this is where the
I don't know. I'm trying to think what the German for things are hopeless and accepting fate is. Maybe I don't know. Das war's. That was it. Das war's. I'm really trying to come up with something here. I hadn't thought about it. I mean, we definitely use Wurst a lot. Like das ist mir Wurst. That's the same to me. Ist damit egal. It would be das ist mir Wurst. And depending on how you pronounce it, like if you're really wanting to put emphasis on it, then it's not das ist mir Wurst. Then it's das ist mir Wurscht. But you know,
it's all about the sausages.
There's also alles hat ein Ende, nur die Wurst hat zwei. Like everything comes to an end, just the sausage has two ends. But yeah, a lot of sausages.
A lot of sausages. And then the other one that you and I were talking about that comes up a lot in French is c'est pas tes oignons, right? Like it's none of your business. And
none of yeah. Das geht dich nichts an. That doesn't affect you. Das geht dich nichts an.
Is there any food in there?
No.
Really, the only food ones that we've discussed from German have to do with pigs.
Wurst. Yes, there you go. That's why it's pig weather and sausages. Yes, yeah. It all makes sense. It is definitely a cultural thing, and this is why stereotypes always have some truth to them. While nobody likes stereotypes about their people or their language or whatever, there's always some truth in it.
Always,
even if it's just a little tidbit of funny truth.
So, with all of that said, thank you for listening. As always, like, subscribe, and share. Let us know your favorite expressions. Let us know what foods and animals show up in your culture in the expressions.
And what are your favorite expressions in your language that maybe you've tried to translate into another language and people have looked at you and went, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What?
Ja, da war das Kind schon in die Wanne gefallen, I think is the German one, very similar. Like the baby fell into the bathtub in German. Here you throw them out. I don't know. But this was a fun episode for us. I hope it was halfway as fun for you as it was for us to record it. Too deep? Too deep.
We'll see you all next time. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you. Bye.